I'm Shannon Baker-Branstetter. I'm Policy Counsel at Consumers Union, which is the advocacy division of Consumer Reports. And as a consumer organization, we definitely have a luxury of having a very broad mandate. Consumers, you can turn almost anything into a consumer issue. And so since we work on everything from healthcare to telecom to energy and financial services, we already have a lot of balancing that goes on in our organization, and so I think that we're a good candidate for the Finding Common Ground type project, and I personally got a lot out of that, and I thought that there was some progress made, especially with getting the contacts, as Dave mentioned. I think habits die hard, and how people are used to communicating and who they're used to communicating with. I think that that's a long process. And I think there's also a generational shift as younger advocates, both environmental and consumer, come. They don't have the battle scars from some of the older wars, so that's helpful as well. I think that we consider ourselves a public interest group, and I think lots of the NGOs that we work with, including environmental groups, do the same. And really remembering that, I think, is key to working together, that it's always about more than just a narrow issue, that winning on one narrow thing may be losing the battle and losing political will for the next campaign. So really keeping that public interest at heart, I think, is really key. And we've seen that in lots of coalitions we've worked with, the energy efficiency coalitions in general at the federal level have been very effective at working with efficiency advocates, business groups, environmental groups, and consumer groups, and have really moved energy efficiency standards forward over the years in a very collaborative way. So that really helps make connections with the organizations in a way that you can build on later. NRDC and others are very key in that process. We've also worked on the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, supporting that and getting out the consumer message about consumer savings and what the revenues go towards, and how clean power and energy efficiency really are a boon for consumers. And then the thing that we're working on the most right now, actually, or at least me personally, on the energy space is in California and defending AB 32 there. And this is another perfect example. If you don't all unite, you will fall, because, of course, the oil companies are making the argument that they care about consumers, and gas prices will spike, and especially low-income consumers will be the most hurt. And so these crocodile tears can be really effective if you don't have a broad coalition, labor, business, consumer, environmental justice, and civil rights groups all really banding together and saying, that's just not true. We are the ones who are paying this. We care about clean air too. And really, turning on its head of, the oil companies are the ones who are, making it painful, for consumers, not the other way around. And so, I think that standing united, as Dave said, is really key. And just thinking about, energy policy as a public interest endeavor. And energy policy can't solve all inequality, but it can help. And so, trying to make it help as much as possible, and looking for those triple wins. I certainly see that happening in quite a few spaces, and there should definitely be more of it. But I'm hopeful for that. Also, it's important in collaborations to keep the separate messengers to some degree separate. And so I've worked in a number of different models for campaigns, where sometimes it's just a very loose affiliation where there's communication, sometimes it's a more formal coalition, and it really depends on the issue, but keeping separate messengers with the voice that they're the most authentic and the most effective with their members, and really broadening the base in the true sense of not just speaking differently, but speaking from a different place to different people, I think is also really important to keep in mind. So, I'm not going to add a whole lot more to what Dave already said. I agree with what he said about the climate change bill, and the dangers and pitfalls that we've learned from, and how speaking a different language, learning to speak a different language is very important. So yeah, I'm hopeful for the future. I've definitely seen some progress and some lessons learned for moving forward.